Vermillion City Council meeting scheduled for Monday, May 18th at 6 p.m. will come to order. Nick, will you call roll?
Teller. Here. Lieber. Here. Price. Here. Holland. Here. Genowine. Here. Helwig. Cheeseman. Here. Murrah. Here. Mayor Cole.
Here. Will you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Minutes, has everyone had a chance to review the minutes for May 4th, 2026 special meeting, the May 4th, 2026 joint meeting with the Clay County Commission, and the May 4th, 2026 regular meeting? If so, are there any amendments to the minutes, or is there a motion to approve? Here it goes.
I'll move approval of the minutes.
Motion approved by Councilor Holland. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Murrah. Any other discussion on the minutes? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by saying nay. Motion carries. Minutes are approved. Adoption of the agenda. Has everyone had a chance to review the agenda? If so, are there any motions to change the agenda, or is there a motion to adopt?
Move approval of the agenda.
Second.
Motion to approve the agenda by Councilor Price, second by Councilor Lieber. Any other discussion on the agenda? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed by saying nay. Agenda is adopted. For visitors to be heard, persons addressing the council, please come to the podium, state your name and address. Under visitors to be heard, you may speak for any topic not on the agenda. Remarks are limited to 5 minutes and no decision will be made at this time. We also ask that if you wish to speak on any item on the consent agenda, number 7, also to speak under visitors to be heard for any item on the consent agenda. For visitors on agenda items, public testimony will be taken at the beginning of each agenda item after the subject has been announced and explained by mayor and staff. And any citizen who wishes may speak for one time at 5 minutes on each agenda item. Public testimony will then be closed and given to the governing body for possible action. At that point, only city council members and staff may discuss the current item unless unanimous consent from the council is given, and questions from the council, however, may be directed to staff or a member of the public through the presiding officer at any time. We do have a couple proclamations, but before we get to those, are there any items that the visitors to be heard would like to speak on? Seeing none, first proclamation I have is for EMS week. Proclamation recognizing May 17th through the 23rd, 2026 as Emergency Medical Services Week. Whereas emergency medical services are a vital public service, and whereas the members of emergency medical services teams are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illnesses or injury, and whereas emergency medical services fill healthcare gaps by providing important out-of-hospital care and include preventive medicine, follow-up care, and access to telemedicine, and whereas the emergency medical services system consists of 5 responders, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, emergency medical dispatchers, firefighters, police officers, educators, administrators, pre-hospital nurses, emergency physicians, and trained members of the public and other out-of-hospital medical care providers. And whereas the members of the emergency medical service teams, whether career or volunteer, engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills, and whereas it is appropriate to recognize and value the accomplishments of emergency medical services providers by designating Emergency Medical Services Week. Now, therefore, be it resolved, we, the governing body of the City of Vermillion, South Dakota, do hereby proclaim May 17th through 23rd, 2026 as Emergency Medical Service Week. And in the City of Vermillion, and encourage the community to observe this week with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities celebrating the 52nd anniversary of EMS Week, improving outcomes together in honor of EMS profession and the essential services it provides, dated this day in Vermillion, South Dakota, the 18th of May, 2026. And I believe Chief Callahan, you can come up and accept this proclamation.
I'll keep it real brief. We got a long agenda tonight to get through. I got another spot on there anyways, you'll get to hear from me. But we truly appreciate the council and the city's support in our endeavors and allowing us to purchase the extra equipment and putting the extra protocols in place and treatment modalities that we have, that we carry on the ambulance, and really truly try to provide the #1 care in South Dakota. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief Callahan. Next proclamation we have is for Building Safety Month. Recognizing May of 2026 as Building Safety Month. Whereas the City of Vermillion is committed to recognizing that our growth and strength depend on the safety and essential role our homes, buildings, and infrastructure play, both in everyday life and when disasters strike. And whereas our confidence in the resilience of these buildings is achieved through the devotion of the vigilant guardians, building safety and fire prevention officials who work year-round to ensure the safety construction of buildings. And whereas the members of the International Code Council, a nonprofit that brings together local, state, territorial, tribal, and federal officials who are experts in the built environment to create and implement the highest quality codes to protect us in the buildings where we live, learn, work, and play. And whereas these modern building codes include safeguards to protect the public from hazards such as snowstorms, tornadoes, wildland fires, floods, and earthquakes, and whereas the Building Safety Month is sponsored by the International Code Council to remind the public about the critical role of our communities, local code officials who assure us of safe, sustainable, and affordable buildings that are essential to our prosperity. And whereas Built to Last, the theme for Building Safety Month 2026, encourage us all to raise awareness about building safety on a personal, local, and global scale. And whereas this year the focus are safe homes, strong communities, voices of the built environment, prepared to protect, and communities without limits. And whereas each year in observance of Building Safety Month, people all over the world are asked to consider a commitment to improve building safety, resilience, and economic investment at the home and in the community, and to acknowledge the essential services provided to all of us by local and state building departments in protecting lives and property. Now, therefore, be it resolved, we, the governing body, City of Vermillion, South Dakota, do hereby proclaim May of 2026 as Building Safety Month in Vermillion, and encourage our citizens to join us as we participate in Building Safety Month, dated this day in Vermillion, South Dakota, 18th day of May, 2026. That is all I have for proclamations. Is there any other visitors to be heard for any items not on the agenda or on the consent agenda? Seeing none, moving into public hearings. First item, we have a special daily malt beverage and wine license for the VCDC for Thursday on the Plots. This will be from July 16th to August 27th from 4 to 8 p.m.
The Vermillion Area Chamber and Development Company has submitted an application for a special daily malt beverage and wine license for the Thursday on the Plots events on the following Thursdays: July 16th, July 23rd, July 30th, August 6th, August 20th, August 27th, 2026, from 4 to 8 p.m. The events will be held at the Radigan Plots, Market Street as it abuts to the Plots, half block of Prospect Street north of Radigan, north of West Main Street, and West Main Street as it abuts to the Plots, east to the south bump of out on the corner of Prospect Street and West Main Street. The request does not include Thursday, August 13th, as the Clay County Fair is in process that night. The police chief's report indicated that there were no incidents with the events held in previous years. Event coordinators from the VCDC confirmed that a wristband system will be used to verify ages of 21 and over, and age will be verified using the individual's identification before the wristband is provided. Signage will also be used to indicate where alcohol is not allowed. VCDC staff and volunteers will be present to oversee alcohol purchases and consumption. All fees have been paid for, the $30 per day fee and the $20 advertising fee for a total of $200. And administration recommends approval of the special daily malt beverage and wine license. Approval recommended only if the city council is comfortable that the applicant holding the license can properly distribute malt beverages and regulate the event, and the applicant is in complete understanding and agreement with regard to any conditions and restrictions the city council may require after further information is provided at the public hearing. The motion should also address the request to use the Radigan plots.
Thank you, Nick. Are there any visitors to be heard on this topic? Seeing none, any discussion by council? Is there any motions by council? Motion approved by Councilor Cheeseman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Price. Any other discussion on this item? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by saying nay. Motion carries. Next item we have is a special permit to exceed the permissible noise levels for the same Vermillion Thursdays on the Plots for the VCDC, July 16th through Thursday, August 27th. Nick, go ahead.
The VCDC has applied for a special permit to exceed allowable noise levels for the Thursday on the Plots events on July 16th, July 23rd, July 30th, August 6th, August 20th, and August 27th from 5 to 8 p.m. at the Radigan Plats. The City Council will need to determine if the events are in a suitable location with appropriate facilities during the allowable time, and if the applicant can demonstrate the public benefit of the event. The $25 advertising fee has already been paid. Administration recommends approval of the special noise permit unless information is presented indicating there'd be no problems related to the noise.
Thank you, Nick. Any visitors to be heard on this? Seeing none, council for any discussion or motions? Motion approved by Councilor Murray, second by Councilor Lieber. Any other discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by saying nay. Motion carries. Special daily malt beverage wine license for the VCDC September 26, 2026 for Oktoberfest.
The VCDC has submitted an application for the special daily malt beverage and wine license for the Oktoberfest events on Saturday, September 26, 2026, to be held on West Main Street from the Core Trust Bank to the former alley between Flames and Silk Road Cafe, Market Street from West Main Street to the alleyway 1/2 block south, and to the bumps out on the corner of Prospect Street and West Main Street in Radigan Plats. The routine police department records check of the parties involved with a special daily license revealed no alcohol-related violations or felony convictions in reference to this application. The police chief's memo notes that Deb Christensen with the VCDC indicated that there will be barriers and clear signage at all egress points. Staff will be checking IDs and using wristbands for people 21 years of age or older, and staff will work to prevent people from under 21 from purchasing or consuming alcohol. City staff is not aware of any problems with previous special daily licenses granted to the VCDC. The city has already received the $30 per day fee and $20 advertising fee for a total of $50. And administration recommends approval of the daily malt beverage and wine license for the VCDC. Approval is recommended contingent that the city council is comfortable that the applicant holding the license can properly distribute malt beverages and regulate the event, and there is complete understanding and agreement by the applicant with regard to any conditions and restrictions the city council may require after further information is provided. And the motion should also address the request to use the Radigan plots.
Thank you, Nick. Any visitors to be heard on this item? Seeing none, council for any discussion or motions?
I will move approval.
Motion approved by Councilor Holland. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Genowine. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to the special permit to exceed permissible noise levels for the VCDC for the same Oktoberfest event.
VCDC has applied for a special permit to exceed allowable noise levels at the Radigan Plots on or about Saturday, September 26th from 5 to 11 p.m. The stage will be on West Main Street facing towards the east. City Council will need to determine if the event is in a suitable location with appropriate facilities during the allowable time and if the applicant can demonstrate the public benefit of the event. The $25 fee has been paid, and administration recommends approval of the special noise permit unless information is presented at the public hearing indicating that there would be problems related to the noise.
Thank you, Nick. Is there any business to be heard on this item? Seeing none, any discussion by council or motions? Motion approved by Councilor Genowine. Is there a second? Second by Councilor Murrah. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed by saying nay. Motion carries. Next VCDC item is the special daily malt beverage and wine license for 4th of July celebration on 4th of July from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. at Prentice Park.
The VCDC has submitted an application for the special daily malt beverage and wine license for Saturday, July 4th, 2026, from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. at Prentice Park. The proposed area is essentially the southern half of the park. Prentice Plunge, the playground, baseball field, and parking lot are not included in the permitted area for malt beverage and wine consumption. The police chief's report, the police chief talked to event coordinators from the VCDC, and they confirmed that a wristband system will be used to verify ages of 21 and over. Age will be verified using the individual's identification before the wristband is provided. Signage will also be used to indicate where the alcohol is not allowed. VCDC staff and volunteers will be present to oversee alcohol purchases and consumption. The city has already received the $30 per day fee and $20 advertising fee for a total of $50. And administration recommends approval of the special daily malt beverage and wine license for the VCDC on the 4th of July. Approval recommended only if the city council is comfortable that the applicant holding the license can properly distribute malt beverages and regulate the event, and the applicant is in complete understanding that the agreement with regards to any conditions and restrictions the city council may require after further information is provided.
Thank you, Nick. Are there any business to be heard on this? Seeing none, council for any discussion or any motions? Motion approved by Councilor Lieber. Is there a second? Second by Councilor Murrah. Any other discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by saying nay. Motion carries. Next item, be permit to exceed permissible noise levels for the same event for the VCDC 4th of July celebration.
VCDC has applied for a special permit to exceed allowable noise levels at Prentice Park Band Show on Saturday, July 4th from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Live music will be available as part of the event. City Council will need to determine if the event is in a suitable location with appropriate facilities during the allowable time, and if the applicant can demonstrate the public benefit of the event. The $25 fee has been paid for, and administration recommends approval of the special noise permit unless information is presented at the public hearing indicated that there will be a problem.
Thank you, Nick. Are there any visitors to be heard on this topic? Seeing none, council for any discussion or motions? Motion approved by Councilor Cheeseman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Holland. Any other discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by saying nay. Motion carries. Next, we have an annual renewal for the malt beverage and South Dakota farm wine license for Sodexo.
An application for the renewal of an on-off sale malt beverage and South Dakota farm wine license for Sodexo America LLC was received, and a notice of hearing was published. Sodexo did not submit their renewal application in time for the May 4th agenda. Sodexo application is for the SCSC, Dakota Dome, and portions of the Muck. The University Police Department conducted a compliance check on Sodexo America for the Sanford Kyle Sports Center and the Dakota Dome. There were no issues discovered during the compliance check, and there were no incidents reports in the police chief's report with respect to Sodexo and the malt beverage and South Dakota wine sales. The city has already received $150 for the license, and following input from the public hearing, City Council is asked to make a decision on renewing the license for Sodexo America LLC. If a motion is to deny, the reason needs to be included in the motion. Staff would recommend approval of the reissuance of the retail on-off sale malt beverage and South Dakota farm wine license to Sodexo America LLC.
Thank you, Nick. Is there any business to be heard on this item? Seeing none, move to council for any discussion. I do have one question. For the Sodexo, being that it's university campus, do we include any reports made by the University Police Department, or is this just strictly Vermillion Police Department, or do you know?
I don't know which reports Chief Brady looks at when she compiles that. And we can ask.
I would just ask that maybe in the future, just because if it's an incident that stays on campus, I don't think Vermillion PD would have a report anyway, so it might not be totally accurate.
Well, and that said, the University Police Department conducted a compliance check too, and it passed, so.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Counselor Genowine?
On that note, it looks like in the packet, nothing is reported for Sodexo. Am I looking at the wrong version of the packet?
No, I think on that page 4, instead of saying Sodexo, it says Sanford Coyote Center and Dakota Dome. It's about the 4th entry on page 4. We probably should have marked that better. That's what Nick was referring to, where they passed an alcohol compliance check. That was the only item of note.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's why my only question is, I'm just shocked that there isn't a single underage or open container or anything whatsoever in the whole campus. Is like, I would venture to guess it's on the university's reporting system, not the Vermillion's. Any other discussion or motions? Motion approved by Counselor Genowine. Is there a second? Second by Counselor Toller. Any other discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed by saying nay. Motion carries. Next item is the consent agenda. We have the invoices payable, a request to close Market Street for the Radigan plots for Thursday on the plots events from July 16th to August 27th on the Thursdays from 4 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. We have a request to close West Main Street from Core Trust to the alleyway between Flames and Silk Road. Also for Oktoberfest put on by the VCDC on September 26, 2026 from 4 p.m. to 11 p.m. A request to close Church Street from East Main to Kidder Street from 3:30 p.m. at 6:30 p.m. on Friday, October 30th for the downtown trick-or-treat event by the VCDC. Also, a request to close Main Street from the alley from 19 Brewery and Core Trust to Court Street and Market Street from Main Street from the VCDC for closure for the VCDC Annual Standstill Parade of Lights. We have a commercial collection license from the Green Removal LLC, a resolution authorizing the purchase of a skid steer loader for the recycling department, and a resolution to authorize the purchase of a skid steer loader for the street department. That is all I have on the consent agenda. Is there any items the council member wishes to remove from the consent agenda? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Approval of the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda by Councilor Price. Is there a second? Second by Councilor Genowine. Any other discussion on the consent agenda? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed by saying nay. Motion carries. Moving on to old business, we have second reading for ordinance 1554. This is reference to building regulations for numbering of buildings. Chief Callahan?
Thank you. As we spoke a couple weeks ago, the need for emergency services to arrive at a location quickly is imperative. To do this, finding the correct location is crucial as seconds can matter. Having appropriately sized numerical numbers on a building that stands out for visibility and ease of reading makes finding a building in an emergency that much easier. After discussion and input with the city engineer and building official, the amendment of section 150.09A was developed and is being brought forth to the city council for consideration as ordinance 1554. This proposed amendment changes and tightens the requirements for numbering. It increases the minimum size from the current ordinance of 3 inches to 6 inches and establishes a sizing chart that will increase the size of the number based on distance from the curb to the building. The proposed ordinance also enhances the definition of contrast by using the word sharply so that the numbering stands out on the building. There have been no changes to the ordinance since the first reading on May 4th, 2026. Financial consideration, adoption of the ordinance will only involve publication costs. Administration recommends approval of the second reading of ordinance 1554. A roll call vote is required with the second reading of the ordinance.
Thank you, Chief Callahan. Is there any visitors to be heard on this matter? Seeing none, is there any discussion by the council? Is there a motion? Motion approved by Councilor Genowine. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Holland. Any other discussion on this item before going to roll call? Seeing none, roll call vote. Eight yeas, 0 nays. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Callahan. Next item we have is moving to new business. We have a request from the VCDC to close another street for 4th of July, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. for the 4th of July Kitty Parade on Plum Street.
Thank you. So for the 4th of July Kitty Parade, the street closure requested is from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., but it's only from East Clark Street to East Main Street for the North Plum. The actual event will run from North Plum to East Main Street, but the East Main Street closure is on the next agenda item. We did talk with street, fire EMS, and police, and they were fine with the street closure after we met on May 6th to discuss this alternative route. Initially, it had been all four streets around Prentice Park, and with emergency services, we decided it wasn't feasible to do that. So this was the alternative that we came up with. Other than that, we recommend the approval of the street closure request for the VCDC Kitty Parade on July 4th.
Thank you, Alex. Is there any public visitors to be heard on this item? Seeing none, council for any discussion? Is there a motion? Motion by Councilor Lieber, is there a second? Second by Councilor Murrah. Any other discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by saying nay. Motion carries. Next item, guess what? We're going to close the street, or ask to close the street for VCDC, North Plum, 4th of July, for the 4th of July celebrations from Plum Street to Walker Street, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Thank you. This street closure is just for general events. Initially, it had been from North Plum to Prentice Avenue. We decided instead of that, we just go to Walker Street here. It's just for the mobile food trucks. The street closure would be from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., just allowing for setup and the kitty parade for that. And then the events on the street would be from 10:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. for the kitty parade, and then 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. just for the food trucks and the general events. We did talk to street, fire, EMS, and the police department about this one as well, just to make sure that emergency services were able to get through. Other than that, they did have volunteers available to help clean up, and if they needed to move barricades, they would be volunteers there to do that. Administration recommends the closure of East Main Street from North Plum to Walker Street for the VCDC's 4th of July celebrations.
Thank you, Alex. Is there any visitors to be heard on this item? Seeing none, any discussion by council? Can you put that map back up, Dan? For the emergency services, are they going to take Plum then past Main to Walk? Is that kind of the route they're looking at then?
Yeah, just kind of, I think either come down this way, take Prentice, and go down.
Or maybe Chief Callahan might be able to
Yeah.
speak on that. I just want to make sure that the ambulance can still get to the ambulance.
Yeah, as part of the street closure, they'll be required to man the barricades, just like they do for the Shakespeare Festival. So they'll have to be able to be moved. We also discussed with them, if a helicopter was to come into the hospital, that they'll have to make sure everything's secured and in place. But yeah, we have the ability to have the barricades moved, or we can go around the hospital itself.
Okay. I guess my only question maybe for the VCDC, we picked Main Street instead of Clark Street just because accessibility to power, is that the reason? Okay, that's what I kind of figured. I just want to make sure.
And then the other path is that they're going to be doing their malt beverage, their
Oh, on
beer
that
garden
side.
down here, so then
Okay.
having it near the food trucks.
Perfect. Okay. Any other discussion by the council?
I move approval.
Motion approved by Councilor Holland, is there a second? Second by Councilor Morrow. Any other discussion on this event, or this item? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, saying nay. Motion carried. You need to wake up first. Well, I think that concludes all the street closures for the day in the rest of the city. Next item we have is a resolution to appoint a city finance officer. Is that correct? Right? Okay. Get to my notes here. Here we are. So effective January 9th of 2026, our previous finance officer, Katie Redden, had resigned. And since that time, the city has been searching for a new finance officer. I believe the hiring committee, which comprises of myself, Councilor Holland and Councilor Lieber, along with city manager and finance officer from Yankton, Lisa Yardley, conducted several interviews of candidates and offered comments. And the hiring committee eventually made a recommendation to the city council, and upon the city council reviewed the application, the recommendation, and provided myself with some parameters in making an offer to our top candidate. Now, Wendy Borja Diaz of Ames, Iowa, has accepted our offer to serve as finance officer. She is a licensed CPA in the state of Iowa and has worked with business and finance office of the College of Agricultural and Life Sciences for Iowa State University since 2019. From 2014 to 2019, Wendy worked in accounting for 2 private businesses in Iowa, and she has a Master of Accountancy and a Bachelor of Business Management degrees. For the transition period, Wendy would work part-time over the summer as she relocates to Vermillion and completes her work with Iowa State, where she would be on-site for a couple of days in July over the course of multiple weeks and attending a municipal finance officer training program here next month in June in South Dakota. Wendy will then begin full-time as finance officer on August 3rd, 2026. The financial considerations for the city is that the salary and benefits of the finance officer are included in the 2026 budget. And I would ask that the council would consider the appointment of Wendy Borja Diaz to serve as our new city finance officer for the city of Vermillion, effective again as part-time in June and moving to full-time August 3rd, 2026. I would welcome any visitors to be heard at this time on this item. I would also like to note too that she did also conduct an interview with department heads, which also agreed with that recommendation as well. I should note that as well for the council. Seeing no visitors to be heard, is there any comments or discussion by council? Is there any motion to approve the appointment by Councilor Price? Is there a second? Second by Councilor Cheeseman. Any other discussion on the appointment of our new city finance officer? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by saying nay. Motion carries. Nick, you're that much closer to being let off the hook for a little bit, all right? You can wipe some of that sweat off your brow.
And can I say?
Absolutely.
Many thanks to Nick for all of
Yes.
his work that he's done in the interim. It's been I'm sure, a heavy lift, but we really appreciate it.
Yes, I would agree with that. And, thank you, Nick, as well. Next item we have is a resolution to support the classification of Vermillion 911 communicators to a Class B members of the South Dakota Retirement System.
Thank you. The South Dakota Retirement System effectively has 2 classes of membership. There's Class A memberships, which reflects most of the general employees of the city organization, and then there are Class B, which is public safety and first responders. This has been an ongoing discussion over the last couple of years about moving our dispatch, not just here in Vermillion, but the 28 PSAPs. PSAP stands for Public Safety Answering Point, to move those individuals in the PSAPs that perform dispatch duties into the Class B, because they take those initial calls. They are more of a first responder. And so the process before you this evening is essentially asking you to adopt a resolution indicating that you would support that move from Class A to Class B. Ultimately, that decision is up to the South Dakota Retirement System Board. Once they have a response from all the 28 public safety answering points, or PSAPs, around the state, they will then consider whether or not they want to make this change. There's a nice letter in your packet from Ryan Anderson, who oversees the department, explaining about what that change means. That would be prospective moving forward. There's an increased contribution for the employee. There are some limits on the family benefits after normal retirement age that each employee would need to acknowledge and agree to. So with that, we'd recommend adoption of the resolution that shows the city of Vermillion supports the consideration by the South Dakota Retirement System to move our dispatching staff from a Class B to a Class, from a Class A to a Class B.
Thank you. Is there any visitors to be heard on this item? Seeing none, council for any discussion on this? Motion, is there any motions?
Yeah, they are indeed first responders, so I move approval.
We have a motion to approve by Counselor Holland. Is there a second? Second. Second by Counselor Murrah. Any other discussion on this item? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by saying nay. Motion carries. That just means they get to retire a little bit earlier.
Yes.
What's that? It's a hard job. It is. Next item we have is a resolution for approval of the issuance and sale of revenue bond to finance the partial closure of landfill cells 3 through 5 and the construction of landfill cell number 7 for joint powers.
So like several items on this agenda tonight, E and F under new business, and then item B under bid openings, this is, these items are all tied together. In this respect, we're talking again about the landfill cells, partial closure of 3, 4, and 5, and then to construct a brand-new cell number 7 for the disposal of waste. So the first item before you is to authorize a resolution for a revenue bond related to this construction project. As you're going to hear in a few minutes from Jose, we did have, I believe it's 8 bidders, and we had a very good bid on that project. It's nice to be able to say the loan is for $2.132 million and a grant of $568,000. The interest is 10 years at 3.5%. You are not looking at needing to borrow that based on the bid award, which you're going to look at. It's around 1.6, if I remember correctly, was their total bid. But we'll hear a little bit more about that. So that will disproportionately, our grant amount will be reduced, but we will still be able to receive some grant funding, but we won't need to borrow as much money. With landfill, pretty much any of the projects that we do with opening additional landfill cells, closing landfill cells, leachate pond creation for the leachate that comes off of those ponds, those are 6, 7-figure projects, and we end up borrowing for those. So the first item before you tonight is a resolution authorizing a revenue bond for the landfill cell closure and development.
Thank you, John. Is there any visitors to be heard on this item? Seeing none, council for any discussion? Any motions? Motion approved by Councilor Genowine. Is there a second? Second by Councilor Lieber. Any other discussion on this? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by saying nay? Was that a nay or is it? Okay.
Excuse me.
Motion carries. That was just good timing on your part then. Next item be joint powers amendment number 11 for the partial closure of landfill cells 3 through 5 and construction of landfill cell 7.
Thank you. Again, we're speaking of the same project, and that is the closure of those, partial closure of those cells, creating a new cell. We have a joint powers agreement. It is 4 entities. It's the City of Vermillion, City of Yankton, Yankton County, and Clay County. And essentially, anytime we borrow money from the state says that we will stay together, and we will like each other, and we will pay the debt, and we can't break up until all the debt is paid. That would be layman's terms as to what happens here. So anytime we have an amendment that is going to be additional debt we take on, we need to have the 4 respective governing bodies adopt an amendment that recognizes that we will stay together until such time as that debt is paid off. So that's what the 11th amendment to the joint powers agreement is about. The first ones are either, again, for landfill cell creation, closure, or for the leachate ponds. That's what's led us to amendment number 11. Each time we have one of these, we add another amendment. So we'd recommend approval of the amendment as presented. I believe it'll go to the Clay County Commission the Tuesday after Memorial Day, and then during the month of June, it'll pass through Yankton City Commission and the Yankton County Commission.
Thank you, John. Is there any visitors to be heard on this item? Seeing none, council for any discussion? Any motions? Motion approved by Councilor Cheeseman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Holland. Any other discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by saying nay. Motion carries. Next item we have is a development agreement between the City of Vermillion and the Pulse of Life Church at 1314 East Main. Jose.
Thank you. The city has been working with the Pulse of Life Church since 2023 to remodel the former Olson Medical Clinic at 1330 East Main Street into a church and daycare center. Additionally, the church also purchased an adjacent lot to the west, combining the former clinic lot and the newly purchased lot into a single lot. Having done this, having the two lots combined this into a single lot allowed the property owner to build an accessory use building or structure within the parcels. In 2025, the church approached the city regarding having a garden and greenhouse structure to grow produce on land that would be leased by the church adjacent to the property. These were allowed by staff since uses were related to church activities and none of the items grown on the land would ever be sold. Recently, the church has been discussing separating the accessory use buildings from the clinic onto a separate lot, selling the clinic and making the accessory building into a new church that would also focus on growing a garden and using the greenhouse. Staff is asking for the council to enter into an agreement with the church due to two issues. First, separating the accessory building into a separate lot will create a non-conforming building within the zoning district. Essentially, accessory uses are not permitted to be independent. They have to be subservient to another use. So the accessory use is required or requires a medical clinic or the church to be there for it to be an accessory. It can be an accessory to something that doesn't exist. The agreement being considered requires that the church remodel the accessory building into a building that resembles a church. The remodeled building will have a meeting space, bathrooms, and a complete HVAC system in addition to any other building code requirements. Secondly, the agricultural and greenhouse uses are not allowed in the zoning district, which the church and the accessory use building are currently in, unless they're tied to the church. The agreement will require that the remodeled accessory building remains a church for the agricultural and greenhouse uses to continue. The agreement will not allow for the sale of items grown in this location, and that only those items grown in the area or brought by parishioners are packaged or processed at this location. The agreement essentially is the first step in the process for the church to be able to accomplish the separation of the accessory building from the clinic. And the second step, which is as important as the first, is a requirement of a building permit to ensure that the remodel occurs. The city will be incurring a $30 filing fee when filing the document at the Register of Deeds. Administration recommends that the city council authorize the mayor to sign the agreement.
Thank you, Jose. Is there any visitors to be heard on this item? Seeing none, any discussion by the council? Councilor Holland?
So if they make the accessory building a church, then there's no longer an attachment, is that it?
Correct. It would be an independent building at that point.
So
Yep.
then they'd have to make the church first and then try to sell the other building, the medical facilities.
Well, whatever they decide to do with the medical one, if they're trying to separate the accessory use building, they have to make it into a church if they want to continue doing the agricultural produce or whatever. We can't have an accessory use building
Sure.
by itself.
So they can either sell the building or have two churches there.
Exactly, yep.
Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the council at all? I also want to note that there is members of the church here as well, that if you have any questions. Any motions at all? Motion approved by Councilor Holland. Is there a second? Second by Councilor Toller. Any other discussion on this? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed by saying nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Jose.
Thank you.
Next item we have some bid openings. We're going to move to the Light and Power Maintenance Building.
Thank you. So after planning a new building for over 10 years, the Light and Power Department began the process to complete that plan in 2025. In December of 2025, the City Council approved entering into an agreement with Banner Associates for the design of the building and for the completion of the plans and specifications for the construction of the building. The final design was presented to the City Council at the noon meeting on April 6th. After all of this was done, the city advertised for bids for this building. Bids were collected and opened on May 12th at 2 p.m. The city received 14 bids. There is a list of all the bids received in the agenda memo. Additionally, I do have the table here as well in order of from low to high at the bottom. As you can see, based on the table, the bid received from Van Buskirk Construction out of Sioux Falls with a base bid of $4,594,000 and an alternate number one bid of an addition of $36,000 for a total bid of $4,630,000. That was the low bid. The consultant's estimate was $5.5 million for the base bid and $40,000 for the alternate for a total bid of $5,540,000. Excuse me. So the low bid was considerably lower than the engineer's estimate. Light and Power Department budgeted funds in 2026 to cover the cost of this project and plans to budget the remaining costs in 2027. Administration recommends awarding the base bid and the bid alternate for the Light and Power Department to Van Buskirk Construction for a combined total of $4.63 million.
Thank you, Jose. Is there any visitors to be here on this item? Seeing none, move to council for any discussion. I just want to take note, I believe we budgeted about $6 million for this building. Is that correct, Jose?
Yeah.
So we're under budget by, is that 1.4? Is that right, Conrad? Million?
We're under
Roughly.
budget by a lot so far.
So I just want to say thank you to the bidders, and I think we had a good turnout, so I want to say, thanks for getting that out there. So on that note, is there any questions or comments from the council? Councilor Toller?
Was some of that savings due to the electrical department doing a lot of the electrical work themselves? Was that part of that?
Some of that savings is part of that. I would say that there was also, as you can see, a lot of bidders very interested in this. And based on the following bid, you'll notice that it tends to be hopefully it's a item that's going to continue for years to come as far as the low bids. But yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
I might add, Todd or Dave know that, I believe, to Mr. Toller's point, is there about $300,000 worth of cost for the electrical equipment that needs to be installed in there?
Real close, yep. We
Okay.
should be right in there.
So the 4.6 is not the full cost, be the +3, but undoubtedly the staff doing that is also helping our cost savings.
So roughly we'll be just shy of 5 million as opposed to the budget 6 million, so we'll still be under budget by approximately $1 million if everything goes to plan. Is that accurate?
I would say that even after you add the consultant fee and all of the other items like the electrical materials that staff is going to have to purchase to do the electrical, you're still going to be under the engineer's estimate of 5.5 million.
I just want to, again, reiterate that it's good work because right now with inflation costs, everything costs more. To be under budget on something like that is good, and let's continue that. Obviously, it's not built yet.
Yeah, it's not built
We're
yet.
holding our breath. Let's just try to keep it that way. Councilor Holland?
Have we done business with Brunswick before, Brunswick?
I don't think since I've been here, I've never worked with them. I believe that they have other projects in Sioux Falls, if I remember correctly.
They're doing a lot of work in Sioux Falls.
Yeah, we haven't worked with them. That doesn't mean that they're not a reputable organization.
Any other questions from the council? Is there any motions? Motion approved by Councilor Murr. Is there a second? Second by Councilor Toller. Any other discussion on this item? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by saying nay. Motion carries. One step closer to getting you a new building, Todd. Next item we have is the landfill cell 7 construction and cell 3 through 5 partial closure. Jose?
Thank you. So the landfill consulting engineer, Burns and McDonnell, has projected that landfills 3, 4, and 5 will reach capacity, and the landfill 7 should be in service by summer of 2027 to allow for continued use of the landfill. The project being considered for the bid opening is the excavation of cell 7 and partial closures of cells 3, 4, and 5. The leachate system for cell 7 was completed with a previous project in 2021. Bids were open for this project on May 13th at 2 p.m. The city received 8 bids. The low bid was from Lydell Construction from Sioux Falls. Their bid was for $1,165,749.65. Again, we do have a table, which is also in the memo itself. This table shows all of the 8 bidders with the low bid at the top increasing in price as you go down the table. The engineer's estimate for this project was $2,003,800. So again, it's a large savings. The project, as John mentioned, will be paid in an earlier memo, will be paid through a loan grant combination funding from Danner. The state's original offer was for $2,132,000 10-year loan at 3.5 interest and a $568,000 grant. Staff anticipates that due to the low bid received, these amounts will be reduced after the bids are reviewed by Danner. Administration recommends awarding the project to Lydell Construction from Sioux Falls for $1,165,749.65.
Thank you, Jose. Is there any visitors to be heard on this item? Seeing none, council for any discussion? Motions? Oh, I'm sorry, Councilor Toller?
Jose, what's a typical life expectancy of a cell? I feel like I've asked this before, but I can't remember if I
I
have.
think you have, but in all honesty, I mean, it varies. I would say that a cell is probably good for about 10 years or so, but it depends on how much refuse is going to be put in there, obviously, so.
Any of your questions for the council? Your motions? Motion approved by Councilor Cheeseman. Is there a second? Second by Councilor Genowine. Any other discussion of this item? All in favor, sir, by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by saying nay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
City manager's report, John.
Okay, just a couple of things to share. Before your next city council meeting on June 1st, just a couple of items. The library board does meet this Wednesday, May 20th at 6 p.m. in the Kozak room at the library. City offices are closed next Monday, May 25th with the Memorial Day holiday. And I didn't write this one down. I believe the pool opens on Tuesday at noon, Tuesday, May 26th, weather permitting. The Planning and Zoning Commission, they have a meeting next Tuesday, May 26th at 5:30 p.m. We're looking at 2 items in that agenda: a conditional use permit for construction and operation of a storage facility at 924 West Cherry Street, and the rezoning of property north of 12 East Cherry Street from R3 to general business. Just a reminder that the June 2nd ballot contains a question about amending the city's home rule charter to allow the city council to consider adopting an ordinance that would allow the budget to be adopted later in that calendar year. There is an explanation of that ballot measure and some frequently asked questions available on the city's website. We do have 2 board or commission openings. Both are for a partial term. One partial term is on the city's Planning and Zoning Commission, and the other one is on the city's Historic Preservation Commission. The Planning and Zoning Commission term, that one will expire in July of 2030, and the Historic Preservation Commission term would expire in September of 2027. The expression of interest forms are due for consideration by the City Council. They're due Thursday, June 4th at 5 p.m., and with the anticipation the City Council would make appointments at your June 15th meeting. The city's RETREAT program, that does remain open for participation. Just a reminder, that's rebates of up to $200 per household for planting a tree. That's at least 1-inch caliper. There's some additional guidelines that's also available on the city's website. And then just a note, earlier today, the noon city council meeting, the city council recognized the water department for receiving the Secretary's Award for Drinking Water Excellence. That was awarded by the South Dakota Department of Ag and Natural Resources. The city's water specialists achieved this honor by consistently meeting all state drinking water standards, monitoring, reporting, and certificate requirements, and that has been something they've done for the last 25 consecutive years. So kudos to the staff for the fine work that they do. I think it's like 120 tests that they send in to the state each year to go through that process. So it's not, you fill out a sheet and send it in, it's quite a bit of work to get there. So kudos to them for the excellent work they do. That's all that I have.
Thank you, John. And that's a great award, and wouldn't expect anything less from the Community of the Year. Seeing, anything else? Is there anything else on the agenda? Counselor Murrah?
Oh, I guess I'll move we go into executive session for personnel matters.
Motion to adjourn into executive session for personnel matters. Is there a second? I think we gotta discuss somebody's salary as interim. Second by Counselor Toller. Any other discussion? Move us into exec session.